Again, thank you for being here.
Please welcome Congresswoman Deborah Ross.
Hey, everybody. Well, good afternoon. It's wonderful to see all of you, and I want to welcome Vice President Harris and SBA Administrator Guzman back to North Carolina. It's also an honor to share the stage with Governor Cooper, Mayor Baldwin, and my congressional colleague, Wiley Nickel. Wake County has 2 congresspeople now. Friends, I was elected 2 years ago at a profoundly challenging moment for our nation and for the small business owners who form the backbone of our national economy. Millions of businesses, large and small, had closed their doors forever. Countless others were struggling to keep the lights on in the depths of the darkest time in a generation. One of my very first acts as a new member of Congress was to plead for more aid for North Carolina's struggling independent restaurants. I'm proud to say that President Biden and Speaker Pelosi heeded that call, and the American Rescue Plan ultimately included $28 billion to save many of our restaurants, many here in Wake County. All told, the rescue plan created 4 million jobs, doubled U.S. economic growth, and spared our country from a punishing double-digit recession. Alongside community lenders and local leaders, my district office in Raleigh also did its part, helping Wake County small businesses secure more than $13 million in federal financing. Now, 2 years later, our economy is rebounding. In 2021, 2 times more new small businesses were created in my congressional district than in the previous year. But more than any economic policy or political decision, we owe the success of our recovery from the pandemic to all of you. In the face of the greatest economic challenges our economy saw in decades, small business owners persevered. Small businesses are the engine of economic growth. They represent the heart of North Carolina's Main Street economy. We celebrate small business owners in America not just because of the role you play in our economy, but because of what you represent. The willingness to take a chance, to bet on yourselves and to dream big. The fact that so many Americans start small businesses in spite of the odds and the very long hours isn't just a function of our economic strength, it speaks to your character, and it reflects who we are as a people. So keep taking chances, keep betting on yourself, keep dreaming big, and please give my office a call if you ever need help. All of us are here rooting for you, and we're fighting for you. Thank you again to the Vice President for coming and celebrating our thriving small business community.
Please welcome Congressman Wiley Nickel.
All right. Hey, at least everybody knows who I am here. All right, thank you so much. I am Congressman Wiley Nickel, and it is great to be here alongside Governor Cooper, Mayor Baldwin, Congresswoman Deborah Ross, and local and state leaders from Wake County for this afternoon's event. I am especially thrilled to welcome Vice President Harris to North Carolina's 13th Congressional District. Now, folks, I've been a congressman for just over 3 weeks now, but wow, what a first week. Welcome to Washington, I guess. Lost in the chaos and confusion of the votes for Speaker was something I think that is especially important. We elected Hakeem Jeffries as the leader of the Democratic Party. The first time in our nation's history that an African American was elected leader of a major political party. And I was so excited about it, and Congresswoman Ross was so excited about it, and Congresswoman Valerie Fouché was so excited about it. We voted for him 15 times for Speaker. The first few weeks have been great. We got an appointment to the House Financial Services Committee, very important for this district. Had my first amendment on the floor of the House just a few days ago. And our office in Garner will be opening this week. We'll have an opening celebration on Friday where we'll get to serve people in this 13th district. And of course, incredibly excited to add to that, having the Vice President of the United States of America in my congressional district. Listen, small businesses and entrepreneurs are the backbone of this economy. Let's give a round of applause for every small business owner in the room here. And folks, the secret is out. North Carolina is a great place to open a business. And for anybody who watched television in September and October, you probably know that I'm a lawyer and also owned a business here in Wake County for over a decade. Communities in my district that have not had equitable access to capital are now seeing more support thanks to help from the Biden-Harris administration. And folks, what that means, is it's harder for minority communities to get a loan. And I'm going to work with every ounce of my energy to make sure, as a member of the House Financial Services Committee, that we do more to make it easier for minority communities to get a loan, to open up a small business. That is something incredibly important to me. But we have to continue to improve access for small businesses everywhere. Small businesses continue to create job opportunities and carried our country through a global pandemic. To that end, I'm committed to working to ensure our small businesses have the support and resources they need to thrive here in North Carolina. In Congress, it's time for us to step up and cut red tape for entrepreneurs with good ideas so they can grow their businesses. It's time to ensure equity and access to capital. It's time to invest in U.S. manufacturing and support working families. I'm so excited to get to work and partner with the administration, Governor Cooper, our state's federal delegation, and local and community leaders, so many of them are here today, to support innovation and entrepreneurship in North Carolina. And I'm so excited that the administration is furthering that mission right here in North Carolina's 13th Congressional District. Again, welcome to the district, and I look forward to joining you for today's program. Thank you.
Please welcome Governor Roy Cooper.
Hello, North Carolina. You know we have the Vice President of the United States of America in the House, y'all. Going to be an exciting day. And she's here to celebrate with us as we highlight two special North Carolina successes. Our small businesses, the backbone of our growing economy, and our amazing diversity that makes us a more welcoming, inclusive, and productive state. And when our diverse population starts and runs minority-owned small businesses, they create good-paying jobs all over our state for the people who really need them. Let's give those small businesses a great big hand today. And we're highlighting today our Hispanic, Latino-owned small businesses that have done so much, done so much for our communities all across North Carolina. And we're also seeing more black and women-owned businesses make gains. You know, our minority-owned businesses that are historically underutilized are just too great to miss. That's why we're here to celebrate them today. And that's why I've been so excited joining together with the Biden-Harris administration to see them thrive. But one thing we know, and these small businesses know even better, that there have been many challenges, obstacles over the last few years, like the pandemic, increases in costs, workforce shortages. But folks, the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fires, and our small business owners have been creative, flexible, and determined to succeed. And I'm so glad they're here today. And let me tell you, the Biden-Harris administration, our members of Congress, so glad to see the members of Congress, Foushee, Nickel, and Ross all here today, along with Administrator Guzman, the state of North Carolina. We've all been there to help with a number of efforts to help our small businesses retool and move forward even stronger. Thank you to the American Rescue Plan, a historic effort to strengthen our workforce, our economy, and our infrastructure. North Carolina has used these funds to provide direct grants to small businesses, boost child care so parents can get back into the workforce and stay there, investments in our community colleges and work-based learning programs to help workers and businesses, and our Retool NC program, which specifically helps minority and women-owned businesses that were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. Retool has assisted more than 2,200 of these businesses with more than $40 million, and that means a lot to our businesses. And our historically underutilized business office here in North Carolina has worked to get so many businesses certified in our state. We are at our best when we celebrate our diversity and focus on making sure that all communities can take part in our growth and success. And we already know that our diverse Hispanic Latino communities are making our communities stronger. I want to recognize my Advisory Council on Hispanic and Latino Affairs, which is leading the way. Can you guys stand up? I know you guys are here somewhere. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Christina Espana, for helping with all of that. And I want to recognize all of the people from my administration who are here today. Please stand up, because I know a number of you came from cabinet agencies. I know we have Secretary Pam Cashwell and Tammy Hall, a lot of people who are working so hard to move us forward. And our DRIVE task force is working to get more minority teachers into the classroom to make sure we're moving and becoming more attuned to our increasingly diverse student population. Our partnerships with organizations like the Latino Community Credit Union are helping businesses grow and thrive. My friend, Madam Vice President, you have come to the best state in the country in which to live. The best state in which to live, get an education, start a business, and raise a family. And we know, and unfortunately we continue to see it even this weekend, just like in every other state, we still face cynicism, hatred, racism. But I believe that in the end, that fairness and justice will prevail. I believe in the power of people's goodness, like those who are here today. The success and prosperity of North Carolina and our country should be for everyone. Together. Let us make sure that opportunity abounds. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats as the program will begin momentarily.
Please welcome President and CEO of the National Association for Latino Community Asset Builders, Marla Bilonic.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. My name is Marla Bilonic, and I'm the President and CEO of the National Association for Latino Community Asset Builders, NALCAB. I am also the first Latina or Latino to be named Chair of the Department of Treasury's CDFI Fund Community Development Advisory Board, and only the second woman to serve in the role in its 27-year history. Thank you. The organization I lead, NALCAB, is a CDFI intermediary and a network of over 200 Latino-led and Latino-serving economic development nonprofits and community lenders, including the Latino Community Credit Union, LCCU, who you'll be hearing from today. All of our members are working to advance economic mobility for Latinos and other underinvested communities across the nation. I'm thrilled to be with you today to frame the exciting conversation you're about to hear that centers on the importance of small businesses and the community lenders that support them. Small businesses are the engine of the U.S. economy. Over 99% of firms with paid employees are small businesses. Of the new jobs created between 1995 and 2020, small businesses accounted for 62%. That's 12.7 million jobs, and almost twice the number of jobs created by their large counterparts. A 2019 report from the Small Business Administration found that small businesses accounted for 44% of U.S. economic activity overall. A similarly critical engine to the U.S. economy is our Hispanic and Latino population and Latino small businesses. Latino households hold considerable earning and consumer power. In 2019, we earned more than $1.2 trillion. This allowed us to pay $308.5 billion in taxes. After taxes, Latino households held more than $910 billion in spending power. Hispanic immigrants are significantly more likely to be entrepreneurs than the general U.S. population. More than 12% of all Hispanic immigrant workers worked for their own business, making them 30.6% more likely to have their own business than the overall U.S. population. There were more than 2.5 million Hispanic entrepreneurs in the United States in 2019. Standing at the ready to support Latino and other underserved entrepreneurs are community lenders. Community lenders like LCCU are entrenched in communities. They are filling an important gap by providing loans and financial services that traditional banks are sometimes not able or willing to provide. Community lenders are acutely aware of the specific challenges that exist in traditionally underinvested communities. They're on the ground providing small businesses with loans to start and grow, helping families purchase homes, and providing critical financial and credit services that ultimately improve the lives of the individuals and families in their neighborhoods. LCCU is a community development financial institution and minority depository institution, and a superstar in the community lending field. Just a few of their accomplishments include growing their operation from 1 to now 16 branches, serving over 120,000 members, providing 97% of their loans to Latinos and immigrants, serving 65% of their members that were previously unbanked, helping 35% of their customers to establish credit for the first time. They've built $900 million in assets, and they've made $1.6 billion in loans. Yes. The Biden-Harris administration has provided unprecedented support to community lenders and small businesses in our nation. I've never seen an administration that possesses such clarity on and commitment to providing access to capital to entrepreneurs. They have put their money where their mouth is and their walk where their talk is. For example, through the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program, over 9 million loans were dispersed that helped small businesses stay afloat during the pandemic and preserved countless jobs. You will hear from our amazing SBA administrator, Isabela Guzman, about new and exciting initiatives that she is leading to expand access to credit for the nation's small businesses. Under this administration, community lenders have received unprecedented investments by the CDFI Fund, including over $580 million in grants and $1.75 billion for the CDFI Equitable Recovery Program that funds CDFIs in expanding lending in communities that have significant unmet capital needs. This administration has also implemented the State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI, which provides nearly $10 billion to states, the District of Columbia, territories, and tribal governments to expand access to capital for small businesses, build ecosystems of opportunity and entrepreneurship, and create new jobs and economic opportunity, especially in underserved communities. In addition, the administration also implemented the Emergency Capital Investment Program, or ECIP, which provides over $11 billion in capital directly to CDFIs that are depository institutions and to MDIs to provide loans, grants, and forbearance for small businesses, minority-owned businesses, and consumers, especially in low-income and underserved communities. LCCU is a recipient of ECIP funding, and we'll touch on that in the upcoming conversation that I'm so excited to introduce for you. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce the participants of our conversation. First, our moderator, Jorge Buso, is the Community Empowerment and News Coordinator with Univision. Next, we have Vicky Garcia, who's the Senior Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at Latino Community Credit Union. And third, the United States Small Business Administrator, Isabela Guzman. Now, I would like to introduce Vice President Kamala Harris. After I talk about her for a couple minutes. Sorry, didn't mean to kill the buzz there, but just really quick, she is due words of praise, so just bear with me for a couple of minutes before the star attraction makes her way on the stage. So from her time in the Senate to her time in the administration, Vice President Harris has led efforts to support small businesses, including by increasing their access to capital. Vice President Harris has worked to secure both public and private investments for community leaders and small businesses, including minority, women, and rural small businesses. But I wanted to share one personal interaction that I had with Vice President Harris that speaks volumes to her commitment to community. At the height of the pandemic, I was leading a community lending organization that was supporting small businesses, and Vice President Harris reached out to me and other community lenders individually to speak with us and hear what was happening on the ground, and to brainstorm about how the administration could help. I assumed I'd have 5, maybe 10 minutes of her extremely valuable time, but no. Vice President Harris spent over 1 hour on the phone with me. She really listened and deeply cared. She asked important questions and was genuinely concerned by the answers. There is no dollar figure or innovative program that can substitute for that level of authenticity. We are lucky to have her fighting for us at the highest levels. So with that, I introduce to you our incredible Vice President, Kamala Harris.
Okay, well, hello everyone. Thank you for being here. And, well, thank you for the leaders who here in bringing us together to discuss this important and very important topic. In my role in Univision, North Carolina, in news, I have a special focus on community empowerment and owning my small business and empowering. I'm so glad to be here today. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Madam Vice President, my first question is for you. Why is supporting small business a priority for you?
First of all, thank you, Jorge, for being here and moderating this conversation and for your voice. There is so much about this issue that is about making sure that people are seen and heard, and that their voices are respected, and that we have policies that promote the natural. You do highlights the importance of it every day. So thank you for being with you and these incredible leaders, and Marla, thank you for that introduction and all you do. Small businesses. So I love small businesses for so many reasons. You know, I grew up, my mother raised my sister and Maya, but she would work long hours and long days and weekends from time to time. And so we also had a second mother, someone that we consider a second mother, Mrs. Shelton, who lived 2 doors down from us growing up. And we lived in the apartment above Ms. Shelton's nursery school. She was a small business owner. She had this nursery school, and she not only took care of the kids in the community, she took care of their parents. You know, there would invariably, I would notice her sitting in the corner talking with a mother who was going through challenges. She was a community leader. She hired locally. She mentored. And that was my first experience with, I never thought of her as a small business owner. She was Miss Shelton. She was our second mother. But that's the nature of who runs, starts, and owns our small businesses in the community. They're not only business leaders, they're community leaders, they're civic leaders, they're role models, they're the one who sponsors the local softball league, they're the one who sees the kids in the community growing up and will mentor them or give them feedback or advice. They're the ones who, you know, for us as adults, if you go in, whether it's a restaurant or a dry cleaner, and we'll say, how's your day? Why are you looking a little down today? Let me put some food in you that I know you like to eat. This is who our small businesses are. And so that's how we feel about them, how we experience them, and small businesses employ half of America's workforce, either as the owner of or as an employee of. Small businesses are contributing to the economic health of our nation in a profound way. We are here with an emphasis today to talk about Latino, Latina run and owned small businesses. Well, they represent at least 5 million businesses in the United States and contribute on an annual basis, the estimates are $800 billion a year. So when I think of small businesses, I think of it in two ways predominantly, about what we must do to support small businesses and what we must do to support small business owners. And that means taking into account the incredible work that is being done by so many of the leaders who are here, and of course our administrator, Guzman, around what we should do to address the barriers that can very much prohibit that person that we just talked about from actually contributing, because there might be language barriers. There are barriers in terms of financial literacy. There are barriers in terms of just not knowing where to go and how to apply for loans and access to capital, things that have nothing to do with the capacity of that individual and nothing to do with their spirit of innovation and ambition, which is also something I love about our small business owners, because they believe and they see and they work hard around the clock. That is not a 9-to-5 job by any stretch. And so those are some of the reasons.
It's more than a job, yeah, absolutely. Agree with you. And we have been told a lot these past 2 years with the economy. People may be interested in starting a small business, but maybe have reservations, you know. Is now a good time for start a business?
Yes. Yeah. Now is a good time. Why? Well, first of all, I'm very proud to be a part of some of the work that has led us to this moment, where when I was in the Senate, before I became vice president, before we were elected, President Joe Biden and myself, when I was in the Senate, we, and together with some others, got $12 billion of federal money to put into the CDFIs, the Community Development Financial Institutions, which we all know as community banks. And so the work that we have been doing over the last couple of years has been to maximize the capacity of that additional funding to increase access to capital. Access to capital, no small matter. I have met, and Marla, we talked about this, so many small business owners, and I've traveled around the country meeting with small business owners, who shared with me stories about how when they first wanted to get a loan, also known as access to capital, they'd go to a bank, usually the traditional bank, and almost to a one they said, and I heard this word being used to describe me that I'd never heard before. And I would ask, what word is that? And they were told that they are unbankable. Unbankable. And so what ended up happening, though, and most of those stories that I've had the benefit of hearing had a good ending, because what they then realized is there are other places to go, such as community banks, which are in the community, run by members of the community. They understand the capacity of the community. They understand the culture of the community, the mores of the community, what the community wants for itself. And then they look at the whole human being in terms of that small business owner. And they can see them So they know what you want to sell, the community actually wants to buy. Whether that be a certain style of food or just cultural or just what it needs. And what ends up happening is the community bank then says, okay, let's sit down and talk about how you apply for that loan. Let's talk about how you get a line of credit. Who of us grew up with our parents talking about a phrase, line of credit, right? These are things you learn if someone takes the time to teach you because they know. That's what community banks do. They then help them understand this is how you need to think about your capital. This is how you need to think about how you're going to be able to afford your employees and their benefits. You get the point. They sit down and they take the time because they understand the value of the person that's sitting across that desk in terms of who they are in the community and what they can contribute to the community. So we've put more money into the CDFIs. You look at it in the last 2 years, we have, as an administration and leaders who are present at this moment in time, and I know the governor is here, Roy Cooper, I want to thank him always. We have, over the last 2 years, grown and started, as a country, more small businesses in the last 2 years than any other 2 years in the history of the country. That's the environment. We have some of the lowest unemployment rates. We are doing the work that is about collaborating around the small businesses that will need to do the work that will be the result of all the trillions of dollars we're putting into the infrastructure of our country, including the almost $1 trillion that we're going to be putting into a whole new economy that is called a clean energy economy, right? This money is about to hit the streets. And so what we know as an administration is we want to make sure the folks in the community are going to be able to take those jobs. So we are investing in the skills development. We are partnering with everyone from community colleges to organized labor to make sure that we are training folks up to take those jobs. That's all happening right now. Right now we are looking at, the administrator shared with me, I'll never forget one of the sessions that we had together, that was it over 75% of small businesses that are manufacturing, right? Because a lot of this is about also our administration's perspective that we need to have domestic manufacturing, okay? Well, what the administrator shared with me, it was an aha moment for me, Isabella, was that 75% of manufacturing businesses in America have 20 or fewer employees. Right? So think about this. We're about to put all of these resources into building back up the infrastructure of America, roads and bridges. That's about work that ranges from electricians and engineers to construction workers. Well, the other number that I have tells me that I think it's over 35% of construction workers in America are Latino. Right?
Right.
So I think about that, yes, as in terms of the worker and that person's quality of life and are they getting paid their value and all of that. But I also think about it in the context of a small business, right? Including manufacturing and what that requires in terms of who the workers are and what their familiarity is with what we need to do to build back up the infrastructure. And then coupling all that with a absolute promise that we have made as an administration, which we are seeing through, that over the next now 4 years, we will increase federal contracts by 50% for minority-owned businesses. So these are federal contracts we're talking about, right? So when you couple these approaches, which is a comprehensive approach, we're going to put the resources into building back up. We understand who small businesses are. We understand who manufacturing businesses are. We understand the importance of lifting up community. We understand the importance of federal contracting because that's a whole lot of dough that goes into those contracts and paying attention to who's getting those contracts. It's really very important. And we think that, therefore, this is a good time.
Yeah, thank you. The time is now. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Vice President. Well, and now I want to turn to Vicky Garcia, and who helps the Latino Community Credit Union here in Raleigh. And Vicky, can you tell us what are community lenders and why they are important to Hispanic-owned and small business?
Buenas tardes. Thank you. First, I want to thank you, Madam President, for being here and putting a spotlight in community lenders. That's the fancy name for credit unions or banks that care about the community. Credit unions in particular, and the Latino Credit Union was founded by Latinos for Latinos and is actually administered by Latinos. So it is an example on how the grassroots movements in North Carolina have created something that can put the economic opportunity there for Latinos in North Carolina. I would like to tell the story how community organizations like ours can help Latinos with the story of one member. His name is Roberto. He came from Mexico. And one of the characteristics of Latinos in North Carolina, we are about 10% of the population here, we're new to the state. This is a state that had received Latinos between the 1990s and the early 2000s. And we are starting to scratch the surface and get noticed because we are creating these small businesses. So Roberto came to the credit union and asked to open an account. Why? Because he just got robbed down the street after cashing his check. So the story starts not only with the idea of having a small business, but also protecting your assets and your family. So the credit union takes care of that member from the very beginning. So opening an account, doing financial counseling, as you were saying, providing financial education, and also helping them move through the continuum of what is a financial history for an individual. So Roberto had his painting business. He had a van and 5 or 6 employees, and he was painting houses, across the region. And he needed a loan for his working capital. He got granted a big contract, and he needed the money for that. So we focus on those micro entrepreneurs that need help to get those small loans. And what's the advantage of that is that we speak his language. Yeah. We speak Spanish, we understand them, and we brought him and guide him through the continuum. But the beautiful thing about that is that Latinos have come to North Carolina and they want to buy houses as well. Yeah. They want to contribute and be members of the community. So we created a mortgage product for all the Latinos that are wanting to buy a house and stay here and participate in the community in North Carolina. 40% of our mortgages are done to individuals who own their own business and have 4 or 5 employees working for them. And the beauty of that is that they transmit that information to their 4 or 5 employees. And those are the ones that come after and apply for those mortgages. So we're not only creating value through the initial loan, the small business loan, but we are also helping them to stay, create roots, and participate and contribute to the community in general. So one of the things that we are very proud of is that we received through the ECIP program $99 million from the administration. And for us, is the catapult to be able to provide loans for the members in the community. What that money is going to do, we're going to be able to provide 1 million loans in the life of this loan that the administration has given us, and it's going to provide $30 billion in loans that we can provide to the community. So I don't want to be the best kept secret, please tell everyone that you can go to the credit union, ask for a loan, get through the financial education program, and build your assets with us. And in this beautiful country that I now call home. I am from Colombia originally, but American, and been here for 20 years, and I cannot see myself doing something better. This is the best road I have taken. Thank you.
Excellent, Vicky. Wow. I'm from Mexico. I became an American citizen 2 years ago. Yeah. It's a great honor to be part of this country. Well, here for Ms. Garcia, how important community banks and credit unions are, Madam Vice President. Can you tell us the administration is doing for support the community banks and credit unions and for a small business?
Well, Vicky just gave an example, almost $100 million, because and this is just one of over 150 community banks where we are dispersing these additional resources. Because as you have so beautifully said with that story, the 1 million loans will have a profound exponential impact on the economic health and well-being of the community. And you said it so beautifully, Vicki. I think that when we think about what we support by supporting this kind of approach is community, on a number of levels, both in terms of the contribution and the feeling and the richness of the community, because of the well-being also of the community members. But also, let's be clear, all of these small businesses are paying taxes, right? And so it's also about the tax base of the community, right? In many places in our country, it is that tax base that's going to have everything to do with the resources that go into things like public schools, that go into other community improvements. So understand that when we're talking about the benefit here, it is, yes, the owner, yes, their employees, yes, maybe their family members who then learn that these mortgages are available, but it is that. But on the point also about home ownership, that's about intergenerational wealth. Intergenerational wealth, because think about it. We all know this, right? You own a home, you build up capital, so that when your daughter comes and says, I want to go to such and such college, you might say to her, sweetheart, don't take out a student loan. I'll take out some of the capital from the value of the house. And you don't have to take out those loans. Or your son comes and says, I want to start a small business. Honey, you don't need to, you can come here. And that's intergenerational wealth. And we know for communities of color in particular, but for all Americans, the greatest source of intergenerational wealth is home ownership. So, and that's another thing that when we think about the community banks, it's a huge piece of it. We think of small businesses, but it includes a big piece of business of community banks is helping with home ownership and mortgages. But intergenerational, it's about capacity, it's about taxes, it's about the tax base, and then it's about jobs. Because again, this is about job creation. And for all of those reasons, I think this is critically important, and this is the work then that our administration is doing, in addition to the work we are doing around the federal contracts piece that we just mentioned, in addition to also understanding that our agenda here includes understanding the nuances. So I'll go back, for example, to construction work and what we're doing around building back up infrastructure. The difference between where we are now and where we could be with this approach, our collective approach, is helping that individual who is a construction worker go from being a subcontractor to a prime contractor. That's a very big deal in terms of what that means, in terms of allowing that individual, that woman, that man, that person, to be able to grow their business and have, again, the residual impact for the community. So those are some approaches. And then, Administrator, you should speak. You're the one who's doing the hard work through the SBA of implementing a lot of this. How are you thinking about it?
Well, it was a great honor to be able to join you here, because this is all I think about with your direction. I think that, communicating how committed the Biden-Harris administration is to making sure that the economy works for everyone and using, that's right. And really using small business and entrepreneurship as that pathway to the American dream is really critical. I come from a small business family. I've started my own small businesses, and I've realized opportunity through the American dream. And what Vice President Harris is so committed to is making sure that we can help businesses achieve success outcomes by leveraging federal programs. And the SBA is all about that American dream and making businesses more successful by giving them the funding that they need to start their business, or making sure that they have the networks and the advice and everything in their toolkit to be able to day by day grow their business and take advantage of the opportunities that the Biden-Harris administration is investing in on their behalf. And then, of course, making sure that we are on the ground. SBA, as you all know, is dispersed around the country with district offices and funding resource partners, many of them here today as well, that help businesses fill that toolkit up with the tools to start a business by writing a business plan up, or maybe that's finding out how to export their product abroad or get onto digital e-commerce and leverage these great opportunities. And so what we're really committed to at the SBA is ensuring that the most critical success factor, being able to access capital to grow, is accessible to all. And that's why I'm so glad that Vicki has joined us in the work that they're doing in the community to make sure that all communities are financially ready and able to level up into entrepreneurship. With the SBA's core resources, I want to spend a little bit of time on capital, because that's the topic we're really trying to lean into in the Biden-Harris administration. And from day one, and even before that, with Vice President's leadership in the Senate, we have committed to making sure that we could ensure that the smallest of the small businesses could access capital. SBA, of course, has been able to disperse relief during the pandemic to help save millions of small businesses. And in the president's first year, $450 billion was dispersed around the country in relief, and we got it into the hands of those left out of previous rounds, into the hands of the smallest of the small businesses with success. And that was through community, through organizations like many of you who are running those organizations today here in the room with us, in language, culturally competent organizations who could help us teach people how to access these incredible relief offerings. And what we're doing now to implement against this vision is making those changes across our core programs. Besides our COVID relief programs, SBA also disperses $40 to $50 billion a year into small businesses for working capital, lines of credit, asset purchases to buy your building or to buy equipment. All the tools and resources you need in the capital markets to grow your business. And so with the changes that we're making to expand our footprint with more lenders, as well as simplifying our products so that it's easier to meet you where you are and everywhere that you are and serve you with a product that is accessible to you. Those changes are really critical to making sure that small businesses can get the startup capital or the growth capital that they need to be a part of those historic investments. And right now, small businesses around the state are building bridges and helping us, implement the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and creating jobs in the process. And the SBA is here to help them do just that.
Wow. Thank you, Administrator Guzman. Well, it's very clear that the supporting the small business. And, well, one final question, Madam Vice President. What resources can you share today for those who want to start a small business?
There's a lot, and I actually am going to turn it back to the administrator, because one of the things I think that it'd be really helpful for us to share with the community and opinion leaders here as they use their bully pulpit is to help people understand, like, how do they access it? And so let's say I've got an idea, and by the way, when we talk about our small businesses, not only is it intergenerational, but also we've got entrepreneurs in their teens and 20s to families who have been doing this for generations, and our seniors. And so it's really, that's also what's also exciting about our small businesses and who they are, because it spans the generations in addition to being intergenerational. But let's talk about, so I have an idea. Let's say I'm, whatever the age is, but I've got an idea. I'm youthful, whatever I am. And and I've got an idea, and I'm prepared to work hard. It's the only way I know how to work. but I need access to capital. So I know that there's something out there about community bank, there's something about there about SBA, but as the individual, if we're sitting down in my kitchen and you're my neighbor telling me what to do, what would you tell me? What do I do?
Well, I think that what we've invested so heavily in the Biden-Harris administration, as you know, is leveling up our networks. You have to start with someone you trust, that local voice. And through the American Rescue Plan, the Biden-Harris administration has supported our community navigators around the country. We now have 1,600 centers around the country. And here in North Carolina, every type of organization to help you get the skills you need. Fill that toolkit with all the resources you need to run your business day to day. So we have SCORE chapters. Those are expert mentors who've done business themselves.
How do I meet them?
And you can go through SBA.gov and connect to local resources. SBA.gov/get local assistance. And I know we're here today in Forest, my district team, but you can connect to a SCORE mentor directly, as well as a small business technology development center. You have several of them in the state, and women's business center. So it's basically about building a center that is welcoming to you. And we have funded community navigators here throughout the state to support small businesses. And so, I think it's critical that you start and recognize that SBA can be a part of your team.
So do I go on, so if I go on to SBA.com, to SBA.gov, okay, and then where do I go? Like, tell me where to go.
Then there's a feed for community navigators as well as Get Local Assistance. And that's how you connect locally with our districts. It's really important that you get a live voice on the other end of that phone
So
call.
I'll actually talk to somebody?
You'll be able to talk to somebody.
Oh, I like talking to people.
And let me ask one question. Is it in Spanish as well?
We have advisors who can work with you in 27 different languages.
Oh, great. Great.
We've invested heavily in making sure that our resource partners, those small business development centers, the women's business centers, the veterans business outreach centers, the community navigators, and our districts have the cultural and language competency to be able to deliver. And for the first time ever in the Biden-Harris administration, the SBA actually put one of its COVID relief resources in 2 languages, in Spanish and English. So natively you could go through the platform and not have to translate it alongside. And so we really are committed to making sure that we reach those smallest of the small with the best resources available in federal government.
Wow, great. Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Administrator Guzman. Same question for you, Vicky. And what resources can you share today for those who want to start a small business?
So I would say go to a credit union, go to the Latino credit union, and open an account with us. Those deposits are the ones who get recycled in the system. Mm-hmm. Those are the funds that we can lend to those small businesses. So the investment that the administration did to the credit union is $99 million. That amount of money could be multiplied by us being able to get $700 million in deposits. And that is all of you here, plus all the members of the credit union, and more importantly, organizations that care about small business and the mission that we have as a community lender. So those private funds and big companies, health organizations, can put their deposits with the credit union so we can lend them out to those who need the money the most. So what we had available for you is the ability to open an account, get financial education, and get ready when you are. I know that it can be daunting when you go and, I have an idea, but I don't know who to talk to. And we, as a community lender, we are there for you. And we understand the route that you have taken, and we understand that you need support from an organization that trusts that you can make it. We have one of the best repayment numbers in the loans that we do. 99.3% of our members pay back the loans.
Yeah.
So we're not a risky business. Actually, we're a very good one.
Yeah, right.
So just put your deposits where your heart is, and that will make you a best citizen. And you indirectly will be helping every small business owner that could ask for a loan at the credit union.
And if I can add to that, so Jorge, you asked earlier, like what have we been doing recently? We last year started what we've called the Economic Opportunity Coalition. And so we've been spending time with private sector funders. And we now have some private equity investment going into the community bank. So it's not only the federal government money, but now we've got, I think it was B of A and Wells Fargo agreed to put $1 billion into what we're doing around community banks. We've got Google and all these others who have agreed that it is a good bet. It is very low risk when even private investors are thinking about the return on their investment to invest in community banks, which invest directly in the community. I think part of it, if I can speak for them, I'll just speak for myself as my observation. I think they also realize, one, that it is in the best interest of the economic strength and well-being of all of society to invest in these communities, but they also understand that the community banks just do it better in so many ways because they understand the community, and everything that you've described happens there in a way that it may not happen with a big bank. Yeah.
Well, this has been incredible conversation, and I learned a lot, and I hope you too. And well, I try to open my own business, my small business too. So it's very, very useful, this information for me. Thank you, Vicky, Mrs. Garcia. Thank you, Administrator Guzman. Well, Madam Vice President, any closing comments?
Well, I just want to thank everyone here. We've asked this group of leaders to come together this afternoon because you really are leaders on the ground. And it was very important for us to be here with you to thank you, because the work we do generated out of Washington, D.C. and these places will mean nothing if it doesn't hit the streets as intended. And that's where you all come into play. There are a number of leaders at every level. I also want to mention we have Congresswoman Ross and Congressman Nickel, and I want to thank you all for the work that you have done. There is, at every level, leadership that is important about this work, and we cannot do it without all of you here. So let's keep it going. We have momentum. And the momentum is on our side. And so let's take advantage of this, knowing that time is a-wasting, and but there's a lot of good to do, and we're going to do it together. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. The time is now. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Garcia. Thank you, Administrator Guzman. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for this great conversation. Thank you so much.